recording to the cloud, recording or live to Facebook.
Excellent.
And welcome to episode 63 of the Georgie and Patty Show. I am Georgie.
And I'm Patty.
And here we are for a special edition of our show, perhaps. Q&A, it's Q&A day, Q&A Monday.
Q&A day. We have so many questions to answer. So many questions to answer.
So many.
Did you want me to bring up the slides?
Yes, I think we should dive right in because we have a pretty stealthy, beefy slide deck today.
All right. Here we go. With the you asked and we answer. So we have a selection of questions to answer today. We're trying something new. I really like to get your feedback and your response. Do you like this question and answer style? Do you have questions you would like us to answer? Let us know.
That's right.
Our quote of the day comes from Albert Einstein. I just love these kinds of quotes because this fits so solidly with what I've found to be true. Is if I had an hour to solve a problem and my life depended on the solution, I would spend the first 55 minutes determining the proper question to ask. For once I know the proper question, I could solve the problem in less than 5 minutes. This is along the lines of if I had an hour or if I had a day to chop down a tree, I would spend the first 7 hours sharpening my axe. There's a lot to be said for figuring out where the problem lies before you start to solve for it. And you're going to see that theme throughout our question and answer session today is kind of a question back, kind of checking in. It's like, are you sure that's what you want to do? Are you sure that's what the answer is, right? And to ask these questions first, because often we dive in to try to solve a challenge without really considering where it's coming from. So that's our overarching theme for today. And our permission slip is permission to ask questions. And I think that this is something, especially when we consider this idea of explaining the obvious, which is defining basic terms that you use in your marketing and in your business, things that are commonplace and easily understood to you and to your colleagues, but often aren't fully understood by your potential clients. We need to explain a lot of stuff, and a lot of us don't really want to ask questions. There's this idea of, if I ask a question, I'm going to appear stupid. Especially seems everybody here seems to understand, and I don't. This is something that Georgie and I noticed in that course that we're taking with 500 or 700 people, is that the chat is full of questions that fall under the category of explain the obvious. And I think those questions are coming up because of the sheer volume of people, that there is somebody willing to ask the question. And we're taking a course on how to create courses. And one of the questions that's come up more than once is, what is a course? Because a lot of times, what you think a course is might not be the same to somebody else. We all have ideas about what terms mean, and the more you dive into this and the more you look at it, you realize it requires a fair bit of explaining and question answering to make yourself understood. And that's one of the big challenges with marketing, is how do I talk about what I do in a way that the people listening actually get it. So asking questions is a superpower. So we would invite you to ask us questions to ask your clients questions, to ask questions when you're in a course or a program or working with a coach or thinking about working with a coach. Ask the questions. Ask the easy questions, ask the hard questions, ask the simple questions, ask the questions about the obvious. And this is a request from us, is if we start talking about something and it's not obvious to you, please ask us. As I was, putting together the slides for this presentation, I realized that we were jumping into questions without explaining the obvious. So there's a couple of explain the obvious kind of angles in this as well. So that's the preamble into our exciting episode today. I'll let Georgie start us off with an update.
Yes, I'll give you my update since I was not here on Friday, and I know I promised to share my lovely paintings. So for those of you who have been following along, you knew that I think it was a couple Wednesdays, 24th Wednesday, I did this free online painting class in the morning. So the first picture here, this is my first painting that I did on the online class. Now, I liked my little painting here. My son comes home and he's going, "You painted that?" He goes, "It kind of just looks like the thing where you put your paint on that you're going to paint with." I was like, "Oh, okay." And the interesting thing, I get that it's kind of gross and ugly. And I liked it so much better than this teacup painting thing I did, because when I approached this one, I was just there to be in the experience. So I was like, okay, yeah, this is, by the way, supposed to be watercolor, which if you've looked at any watercolor, this does not look like a watercolor. So the next picture, so here's my second attempt at practicing with watercolor. So it's a little better. We've got a little more of the watercolory lookingness of it, and playing with different things the lady taught in the course. I was like, okay, so then I decided that now I'm going to practice painting something that actually looks like something, so I can kind of start to recognize it. So I found this thing on YouTube, and I was going to paint these lavender pots. So I'm going to paint the same picture over and over and over and over again so I can practice. So this is my first attempt at my little pot of lavender. So then I've sort of broken it down into, I've got the pot, and then there's that green part of it is, there's kind of 3 or 4 different elements in that. Then there's the actual lavender flowers. Then there's that shadow piece at the bottom. So I was like, okay, there's like about 4 or 5 different components here I want to practice. So my first practice is really looking at the pot. Can I get the pot better? So in my next attempt, I think my pot is better. It's getting there. My green still needs some work, playing with that, but I'm like, okay, my pot's getting better. And then so far, this is my last one I've done so far, which is getting a little bit better. And this is a smaller, I decided to cut the paper in half so I'm not wasting so much paper as I'm going through my paintings and my pots. But it definitely looks better than the very first painting I did, which looks like a blob of color on the paper. It's getting there, but the thing with it is I'm just going to continue to practice. I'm going to practice and practice and practice, and I go in without not a huge amount of expectation, which is also practice for me, because I can find myself starting to get frustrated and wanting it to look like the video that I'm watching. And I think it's kind of like with our business and how we're showing up too. We get these expectations and we want to be masterful really quickly. We want these incredible results to happen like yesterday. And I think like painting, it takes time, and there's so many different elements in this. And even just learning how like the paint runs on the paper, or how much water do I add, and how do the colors blend, like which brush to use, all of those different kinds of things. There's so many different things that make this either work or not work in the way that we want it to. And often we don't know what those pieces are until we keep practicing. So I'm going to continue with my little lavender pots until I'm so sick of painting lavender pots. But because for me, I often want to switch, right? Bright, sunny object. Maybe I'll pick a different painting. I'll probably be better at that one. I'm like, no, I'm going to get really, really good at painting these pots, where first the pot, then I'll get the flowers, but I think it's like the commitment that I want to make in in our company and in our business, right, is really practicing and practicing and practicing towards that level of mastery, breaking down all the different components and just, really focusing on one at a time until eventually, maybe, hopefully, before I die, I'll get better at it. But I know that there will always be pieces. So here's my updates on my paintings that I promised to share with you. So when I look at, like I say, my first color splotch in this, I'm like, okay, it's moving right along. They're somewhat recognizable. So
it can almost, it's a non-trivial undertaking.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I come back and, it's just a little bit here, a little bit there, see what happens. So everyone's getting lavender pot paintings for Christmas.
Excellent. All right.
On to the Q&A.
On to the Q&A. On to the Q&A. Question number 1 that we get a lot. Do I have to choose a niche? Do I have to choose target market? Do I have to choose a specific kind of client? Do I need to narrow down? Big question. Combined with how do I do that sort of a thing. And so we question the explain the obvious piece. Number 1 is what the heck is a niche? And here's how we see a niche. Niche, if you happen to not be in Canada where we pronounce it correctly, is defined differently depending on who you talk to. There are various descriptions of it. Our description, if we were to say niche, our description revolves around this idea of you are your U-shaped business. You are a piece of the jigsaw puzzle. You have your place in the larger puzzle. And from our perspective, your niche is that natural place where you are here designed to fit into. And it's just like, it's this cozy, comfy little spot where you snuggle up to some other people, around your edges, other businesses around your edges, and this is where you fit in. It's kind of how we see a niche. Let's get into kind of a conceptual kind of a picture of it, is that you have a space and you belong there and you take up that space. And the challenge is to find out, what is your edges, what are your shapes, that kind of a thing. But that's how we see a niche. It's your place in this larger picture. And if we were to kind of bring that down to some specifics, it's going to involve these things. I help these kinds of people, your future clients, the people you work with. How would you describe them? But you help those kind of people solve these kinds of problems. And this is what people hire us for, is to solve a problem or get these kinds of results. So part of your niche is who do you work with. Part of your niche is what you do. It's I do these specific things. These are the services that I offer, and I do it in this specific way. This is a U-shaped kind of a way. So your niche is all of that, all of those edges of your puzzle piece, really. So when you think about your niche, these are the kinds of things that you're thinking about. And from our perspective, there's just this natural spot where you're going to fit in, because that's how you build. So back to the original question, do I have to choose? Do I have to choose? And this is often followed by some logic about why people don't want to. I have no clients and I can't afford to turn anyone away. If I had $100 for every time a client has said that to me, this is it's an expected answer from people who are in a level 1 business. I don't have any clients yet, or I have very few clients yet. I'm just getting started. And the idea of specializing, choosing, working with one specific kind of person is kind of terrifying. And it's like, I can't afford to turn anyone away. And it makes logical sense to us. It's like, cast a wide net, work with as many people as possible. And you know what? we're not going to disagree with you. Second kind of pushback is my thing. Whatever it is that I do can help anyone. And let's face it, life coaching can help anyone. If you offer some kind of healthcare kind of advice, can that help anyone? Sure thing, absolutely. You know, leadership skill training, can that help anyone? Yes. We could all stand to have better communication skills, better relationship skills, better leadership skills, better life skills, better decision making. You name it. There's general sorts of things. It can help everyone. Sometimes it's I have a niche, or I chose a niche already, or I took a course that made me choose a niche, and it's women who are ages 25 to 65 and make over 75K a year, and it's not helping. So we often get that too. I already did it and it doesn't work. And we would say that this is not a niche. This kind of demographic attributes of how old people are, what gender they are, how much money they make, where they live, how long their fingernails are, it's not a niche, and it's not going to help you. And often it's this: I don't know. I can't choose because I don't know. I don't know who I want to work with, and I'm not fussy. Right now, I just want clients. This is kind of a getting started kind of a perspective of this. This is kind of the pushback. And our answer to this is, do you have to? No, not in the beginning. Not in the beginning. And this is our perspective here, is that you don't choose that niche so much as you discover it. And in fact, when we talk about the levels of business, like level 1 is getting started. Level 1 is about exploring. It's about discovering. You figure out who your niche is by working with people, by doing different things, putting stuff out there, experimenting, trying. And you discover it. And one of the hallmarks, like one of the indications that you're moving into level 2 is that it becomes apparent. You've discovered it. All of a sudden you're like, oh, I do my best work with these kind of people. I want more clients like that. I really like offering this service. I don't like offering this other one so much. It's like, oh, this is what it is. And it's like a eureka, and it shows up. And then you're not choosing so much, but you're choosing at that point. You're choosing to do more of what you like with people that you like. It's like it shows up. So if you're in a level 2, you're like, yeah, I know it. I know who my people are. I know what my niche is. I'm good. If you're confused about it, it's an indication you're level 1. That's and you get to you can let go of that and move forward, because a lot of people spend a lot of time trying to figure this out in their heads and in their imaginations. It's not helpful. So if that's you can let go of that idea.
And the other piece that I like to bring into this part about when we're, choosing our niche or exploring and discovering is we're really looking to find the people who believe what we believe, the people that we align with, the people who are, kind of have the same values, and they're going to match up with our systems and how we do things and how we show up. We've talked about this a lot on our show where, Patty and I, we do tend to, we giggle a lot, we laugh a lot, we do things in a certain way. And if you don't like those kinds of things, we're probably not going to be necessarily the people that you work with. And that's okay. We have a certain methodology that we bring to the work that we do. If you believe in that and in how we do things, you're probably going to be our ideal clients. But when we first started, we were very much in that exploration phase. We were trying things, we were seeing who showed up, we were discovering who we really love to work with. And it really, what we've noticed, I think, at this point too, is really this part about finding the people who believe what we believe is a really foundational piece when you're in this sort of exploration process. And it happens instead of setting out in the beginning and spending so much time trying to force it with made up information. And I do believe there's a piece of you who, you know what you believe and kind of what you stand for, so you do start to attract those kinds of people. But I think allowing it to happen and being okay with that discovery process is going to give you a lot of relief. The pressure sometimes we feel like we have to have this niche to find.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and there's this relaxation kind of feeling when you look at this in this way, and it's like, oh, I just have to be me, and the people I'm meant to work with will show up because they will like me for who I am, and I don't have to try to pretend to be someone I'm not, which often when we look at this really highly headspace kind of focus on choosing who I'm going to work with, we often end up kind of painting ourselves into a corner where we have to change ourselves in order to attract the people that we chose, rather than just letting go and allowing it to happen. So, next up, I don't think my audience will pay, air quotes, what I'm worth. What should I do? Georgie and I were talking about this before we got on the call today, about the idea that when the biggest problem people have with marketing and with selling themselves and their services is that they see everything from their own internal perspective rather than seeing it from the potential client's perspective. So the very fact that you're looking at something around what I'm worth is an indication that you're thinking about it from your perspective rather than your potential client's perspective. So it's actually, the question isn't really about what you're worth. It's more about, is what you're offering worth it to your potential clients? So flipping this around, when you look at pricing and about charging what you want to charge, it's about value. And it's not about you. It's not about what you do or how you do it or any of that stuff. It's about what is it worth to a client, because the decision that they're making, the logical decision that's happening in their head, which is often an emotional decision, but let's just look at this in logic, is they're weighing what would they rather have, the thing that you're offering or the stack of cash that they have to exchange for it. Is keeping that in mind. And often when we're wrestling with this idea of what I charge, we're not looking at it from this perspective. And people often say stuff like, oh, I put so much into this, it's taking so much of my time, it took me so long to learn this, I'm absolutely worth more. And that might all be true from your perspective, but the reality is the only way that client is giving you money is if in their mind the balance is in your favor. They would rather have the thing you're offering than the stack of cash. So that's about figuring out, what is it worth to them? What is it going to do for them? And this is one of the big challenges with your marketing. It's establishing that value. But if you continue to look at this and continue to listen for it, what is the value you're providing for your clients? What are they talking about? What are they raving about? What kind of results are they getting? That'll put you on the right track for this. The second piece of this is testing and experimenting. We sometimes make assumptions without testing them. People won't pay this. Maybe they will. Um, you don't know. So a lot of this is testing and experimenting in terms of your pricing. And there's an element of needing to feel confident and good about whatever it is that you're charging. And in general, in terms of pricing, start low and grow. When you're just getting started, level 1 business, first few clients, pick a low-ish price, not ridiculously low, not $5 a session, but on the lower end of the scale. Start there and grow into it, because let's face it, the very first sales conversations that you have, there's a lot of stuff going on. It's a non-trivial undertaking, a lot of things to learn, a lot of things to do, and it can be helpful to not add pricing is a confounding factor in there. It is easier to raise your prices than to lower them. So generally, take on your first few clients at a lower price and then just continue to raise it. That would be my 2 cents on this subject.
Mm-hmm. And I think the other piece of this too is to really kind of go inside your head and notice, what are you thinking? What are you saying to yourself when you're determining your pricing and you're saying these prices out loud? What kind of stories are you making up in your own head about whether you feel it's worth it, not worth it? Even when we pick a low price, sometimes we try to talk ourselves out of that low price because of what we've heard from someone else, that, oh, you should do this. And really going in and paying attention to you and what you're saying. We were talking about this too before our call. We were in in our course, and there's some people talking about, what am I going to charge? I don't know if anyone can pay $100 for my program. And we're in a course where people have paid $1,500 to be in the course. So kind of asking yourself, where is this thought coming from? What's causing me to believe that no one will pay more than $100, or will they even pay $100? I think if we can get to that spot where we can actually take the emotion out of it and not take it so personal with how we're coming up with our pricing, especially in the beginning, and really start to be a little bit more discerning and just asking these questions of, where am I getting this information? What's causing me to believe this? Is this based on fact? Is this based on things I've been carrying with me since I was a little kid? Is this my own lack of self-worth? But how can I pull my own emotional stuff out of this and kind of look at this just from a factual perspective? What's going to work here? I think that often makes it a little bit easier, and it starts to give us clues into things that we're thinking with our own mindset, right? If we've heard the lack mindset, abundant mindset, those kinds of words, but just give you some clues as to what's going on in your own head when you're trying to come up with your pricing. And I think maybe another permission slip, like you were saying, right? It's totally okay. Start low and grow. It's totally fine, acceptable. What feels comfortable for you, right? It's all about that kind of going inside and what does feel comfortable, and am I coming from a logical place? That's actually an okay place to come from sometimes.
And here's one for Georgie.
Yes, we get this question a lot. I'm
just going to say, sometimes it's not even a question. Sometimes it's just resistance to our advice to talk to people. Sometimes it's just, isn't there a better way to do it? Isn't there a more efficient way to do it? Can't I do this by email? Can't I just do this by social media?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like the underlying question really is this one.
Totally. And even that, I hear it all the time. I know what you're going to say. I already know what you're going to say. You're going to say I should just talk to people. That's what I'm going to say. And even sometimes I think that talking to people comes to even reaching out over social media or sending an email, but really it shows up when it's like, you want me to actually have a conversation with another human being. And yes, quite often that's exactly what I mean. So how can we make this a little bit easier for us? And I love this picture of this little girl on the phone, because I can think of, if we can kind of go back to remembering what it was like when we were a little bit younger, and we didn't sort of have all these made up stories about what people would think about us. If we actually just said, hey, how you doing? It would be a little bit easier. But because we don't often have that image still in our mind, so here's some things you can do. Breathe. Before you're getting ready to make the call, before you're getting ready to talk to someone, just take a nice deep breath and just kind of center yourself and remember to breathe, because often we hold our breath. So step one, breathe. And again, notice the things you're saying to yourself. What stories are you making up? Oh, I'm just bothering them. I'm going to be a pest. They don't want to talk to me. They're not going to want to hear what I have to say. They're probably going to hang up on me. Maybe they might yell at me. I'm going to look stupid. Who would ever buy from me? I haven't been doing this long enough. I don't know what I'm going to say. What if I stumble on my words? Really start to pay attention to what you're saying, because you're making all of this stuff up. You could just as easily flip that and be like, oh, hey, they're going to love to hear from me. They're going to be excited to hear my call. They probably love meeting new people. It's all made up. So notice what kind of made up stories you're making up. The next thing is part of this reframe, right? Reframe how you are seeing this, how you're approaching it, what people may be doing, may not be doing. What if you thought, I often tell people this a lot, is that what if what you have can really, really help someone, which for most of us on this call, our products and our services help people. So if you don't share that information, you're possibly keeping these people from getting the life that they want, getting the help that they need, and moving to the place that they want. So if you can kind of make a little bit of a reframe there of, oh, I'm here, I'm helping, and they can choose to do with it whatever they want, and that's fine, but at least you've done your part. Really, this is all about building relationships. Like if you can think about when we're reaching out to your future clients or potential clients, think of it as if you were going to a party. A friend of yours is having a party and they've invited you to the party and you don't know everybody there. But you're probably going to be, as people walk up to you, hi, how are you? My name's Georgie. How are you doing today? You're going to start to build these relationships. Think of your business the same way. These are just people. They're humans just like you. They get a little bit scared. They get a little bit nervous. They feel a little bit awkward. Sometimes they don't know how to reach out and ask for help. But we're just building relationships with people, right? We're planting seeds. We're nurturing those seeds. It's building and growing. It doesn't have to be this crazy, hard, weird thing. But think about it. This is just a human that I'm building a relationship with. Because for pretty much all U-shaped business, I think we're building on this foundation of human to human in its relationships. It's not about going in with this crazy hard sell and forcing people to do things. I want to build a mutual relationship with this person and just see how and if I can help them. Get really clear on the solutions that you offer to people. I find it's often a lot easier to make those calls or send those emails and reach out to people when I'm really, really clear about how I can help someone. If I know what I actually do, and it might sound a little bit kind of strange, well, of course I know what I do. But often we're like, oh, I'm a life coach, I'm a business coach. But when I'm really clear about the specific ways I help people, it's easier to have conversations because I'm listening for the specific way I can help them. It helps to increase my confidence when I know exactly what I do and how I can help people. So get really, really clear on that. Be valuable. I think, and for most of us, I think we come from this space anyway, but know that we're actually here to help people. We want to provide something that's valuable to them. That's why we love our bridge assessment method that we do. It's a way to provide value to people, whether they choose to work with us or not. It's not just a buy my stuff kind of thing. It's I'm actually providing service and value to you, whether you choose to work with me or not. And that helps when we're going to make the call. And then, of course, be brief. Sometimes we get so nervous that we ramble and ramble and ramble. It's really okay to just say, oh, hey, I heard you talking about really wanting to get a bit healthier. I have this assessment that can maybe give you some ideas, see what might be stopping you. If you're interested, I'd love to offer to you. Simple, easy, quick. Don't have to ramble and go on for people. People are busy. And this especially is really, really useful if you're doing email and social media, say LinkedIn, outreach, those kinds of things. It's really okay to be upfront and brief and to the point about what you have to offer when you see an opportunity to help somebody. And then practice. Practice, practice, practice. The more you practice reaching out to people, the easier it will become, the more comfortable you will start to feel if you do it more and more often. So it's like the painting, right? Practice the introduction, practice offering what you have, slowly, slowly, slowly. It'll take time. In the beginning, it might look like that just blobby mess of color and blotch and dark spots, and eventually, oh, I know when I add a little more water, I get a little more smooth. I let the brush do the work for me, you know, but we have to be committed and willing to actually put in the time to practice, and it will get easier.
And I'm going to put this in here for my fellow introverts. is choose what's easy for you, or easier. It's kind of like when you look at the spectrum of the numbers of different ways that you can connect with people and talk to them. Choose the easiest way. Pick a format that works for you. I've probably said this on calls before. It's like, it doesn't work for me to walk into a big crowded networking event and just strike up conversations. I'm not a good mingler. So I'll choose events that are facilitated. I'll choose events that are smaller. I'll choose events that give me a little bit of airtime to talk. So I just choose things that are easier. You know, if it's easier for you to reach out online, do it that way. If it's easier to do it in person, do it that way. But permission slip to do it in a way that's easy for you and fits with your personality. Next question. We get this one surprisingly frequently. I want to put an application online for my free assessment or coaching session. How many questions should I ask? Or what questions should I ask? Or probably even more frequently, what kind of software do I need to do that? And this is one of those questions where we're like, why? Why do you want to do that? And sometimes it's like to keep my calendar from getting overbooked. I don't want to just let my calendar out there and let people glom onto it so that I'm totally swamped with people wanting to have meetings with me. Might be valid. To avoid talking to tire kickers and time wasters, it's often this kind of element to it. I don't want to talk to just anybody. I only want to talk to people who will potentially buy from me, which, fair enough, is one of the ideas behind setting up an application form on before you allow someone into your calendar. But quite often, the response is because a level 3 business coach told me to. Now, level 3 business coaches, level 3 businesses are businesses that are scaling. They're big. And the idea of putting out an application when you are a celebrity that has a lineup of people who want to talk to you and all kinds of people would take you up on a free slot on your calendar, the requirements to manage that kind of business are different from being a level 1 or a level 2 business even. And quite often, what makes a lot of sense for a level 3 business makes no sense whatsoever to a level 1. And so the first question is about why. Why do you want to do this? And to keep in mind what an application does. It prevents people from booking on your calendar. If you put up an application, fewer people will book. That's why you have them. You put an application up so that you get fewer people, not more. Some people think it gets more people. It's like, it doesn't get more. It sorts for people who are willing to provide a lot of personal information online in a form before getting on a phone with you. It creates a speed bump so that fewer people book. That's the purpose of an application. It's meant to prevent people from booking. So if you're a level 1 business, the question is, do you really want to do that? And from our perspective, it's like, no, you want to talk to as many people as possible. You want to practice. How do you discover all of these answers? By talking to people. And here's a little secret that we're going to let you in on. That's been our experience ourselves and working with clients. If someone is willing to block off time in your calendar, they're more than likely interested in hiring you. Time is valuable and time is precious. And if somebody is willing to get on a call with you, there's a very, very good chance that they are interested. Are there some people who do this just for kicks and to get as much free stuff as possible? Sure. But they're not as many maybe as you might think. Maybe the people who get to that level 3 get a lot more of them. If you're level 1 and somebody's willing to talk to you, very, very, very good chance that they are interested in buying from you. Next question. Which social media platform should I focus on? What's the best way to get started?
We get so many questions about social media. And I think social media, it is a big part of our world. It's become a big part of of business and how we do business, and it's not the only way. So I think before you are going to go onto social media, the question to ask is, why? Why am I wanting to go on social media? Is social media fit for me? What are the outcomes I'm looking for with being on social media? So get really clear about why you're there. And there's definitely times where even if you're not a social media person, being on social media can definitely help you get in front of people. So if you don't maybe have a big audience and you need to get more eyeballs on your stuff, social media could be one way to do that. Now, if you're someone who is just out in the world all the time and you're talking to lots of people and your network is naturally big and you don't seem to have a lack of people, to present to or to talk to, social media is not a must have for you. And that's totally okay. So it's really getting clear on, is this a fit for me? And then if you make the choice that, yes, I'm going to social media, it's going to become part of one of the things I do to market my business. When you're going to choose a platform, where are your potential clients? Where are they hanging out? Which platform do they prefer? That should be a consideration before you decide to either go, I need to be on every social media platform out there, or I'm just going to pick the one that I really like, even though none of my people are on it. So if you're using it for business, get clear about where your people are, and then get clear on how you work. How can you make this work for you? Kind of like Patty was saying earlier about picking things and doing it in the easiest way for you. And we've been talking about this a lot about, okay, we need to up our social media game. It's clear, our people are on social media. We need to bring in more eyeballs. We want to use this as one of our strategies. So then we're like, okay, how can we make this work for us? So I'm like, okay, we had this conversation yesterday and I was like, for me, if I know we have a schedule and things are coming out and then I can just create things and it does its thing, I can do that. Neither one of us is great with this on the fly kind of thing. If we have to wake up in the morning and make a post, we're probably not going to do it. So we need to pull in the tools that are going to make this easier for us. So we have our calendar now, we have our robot that can do some stuff so that we know we have a strategy and a plan that works with the way we work and gives us some flexibility to then add more content as we see fit. But really getting clear for what works for you. If you're someone who loves being on there, it's really simple for you to just wake up in the morning, create your post and do it. Awesome, great, fabulous. But really get clear, instead of trying to work against yourself, make it a little bit easier by working with your own personality and how you show up. I think often we try to fit someone else's mold of kind of discipline and how they do things, and it's just harder if we can just pick the battle with the things you want to change with yourself. If you know it's just how you work, make it easy.
From the boxes and arrows perspective, keep in mind that social media is not synonymous with marketing. A lot of people conflate these two terms and they're like, social media is marketing. I need to do some marketing. I have to get on social media. It's like, there's not a second thought behind that. So that's something to keep in mind. Social media is a vehicle. It's a place. It's a possibility. You can use it in your marketing, but it's not the same as marketing. Something to keep in mind. Which brings us to, nothing I've tried for marketing works and I'm super frustrated. What should I do? Which brings us to remembering Patty's new favorite saying is that starting, growing, and running your own business is a non-trivial undertaking. And that's true for marketing as well. And a lot of times we have this kind of idea that marketing is a thing on my checklist. Oh, I need to market myself today. Check, done. And marketing itself, it's non-trivial. Yeah. And leads us to this question: what is marketing? had a workshop a number of years ago. I had a woman come up to me and she says, you know what, Patty? She says, I think you need to explain to everyone what marketing is. She says, the people I talk to think the marketing is advertising. And I would say that, you know, the updated version of that is, I think people think marketing is social media. So good, you know, explaining the obvious here, what is marketing? When we talk about marketing, because we're talking to, you know, small businesses, U-shaped businesses, independent, self-employed people, marketing is all of the things that you do between, you know, finding someone who has never heard of you before and having them become a happy paying client. Marketing is all of those things in between. And there's kind of a flow to marketing, a number of stages that happen with this mysterious orange arrow here. Is that the first piece of marketing, and this is what everyone thinks about as marketing, is about getting in front of new people. And that's why when we think about social media and advertising, is it's a way to get in front of people who've never heard of us before. It's a necessary step, but it's only the first step. Like, that's the first step. And if that's all you ever do, you're going to be frustrated with your marketing because it's not going to work. We have this idea that it's like, oh, if I just get a whole bunch of people to like my Facebook page, they will automatically become clients. And it doesn't work that way. So the first stage is getting in front of people. The second stage is about educating, building know, like, and trust, nurturing. It's often called, that's the second stage. And in order to enter that stage, you mostly need to get some contact information. People have to follow you or like you or connect with you in some way or sign up for your list so that you can be in touch with them on an ongoing basis. So that's the second phase of marketing, is building up the know, like, and trust, and the education. This is where content marketing comes in. Sending a newsletter, do a live show, do a podcast, something like that. The third stage is your sales conversation. That's when somebody says, hey, I'm interested. You know, and this is kind of where it switches off from marketing to sales. You know, marketing is getting the attention of people, getting them into your world and warming them up enough so that they're willing to have a sales conversation with you. But that's the third stage. And to do that, for those of us who work with clients individually, that's typically a conversation booked onto your calendar. And that's the third stage. So this is the big picture overview of what marketing looks like. On Wednesday, when we talk about funnels, we're going to dive in even a little bit deeper into this and what happens in each of these stages. But the first thing to keep in mind is that, you know, when you're looking at your marketing, it's non-trivial. There's a lot to it. And if you can accept that, that's a good place to start. It's not a problem that you're going to solve instantly. It's not a problem you're going to solve by running a Facebook ad. So that's what is marketing. And from this, the second piece, like when you see this, the second piece is like, where is the problem? So a problem well stated is a problem half solved. I often want to go out there and solve problems we don't have yet. In fact, that's one of the things that that we notice a lot in the people that we're working with, is that they're ambitious. They want to get somewhere. They want to grow a business. They want to be successful. They want to get a lot of clients, and they're often tripping over themselves to move too fast and too far ahead, thinking too far along the road, you know, thinking about applications, that kind of stuff, and not thinking about, okay, what is the problem right here, right now? What is the problem I need to solve for? And so the first thing in terms of, you know, my marketing is frustrating, nothing I'm doing is working, is to take a look and say, okay, where is the problem happening? And this, by the way, is part of what we're going to be talking about. We're going to talk about this on Wednesday, but we're also going to do a marketing assessment on our free online class webinar thing on Friday. Is we're going to go through and identify each one of these areas and see what healthy looks like and not so healthy looks like, to help you get a handle on where the problem is. Because if you can locate the problem, then you can start locating solutions to solve it. Because the problem is not solved for marketing. The problem is solved for which part of the marketing isn't working. And if it's all of them, which it is for some people, that's okay. At least you know. At least you know that your solution needs to involve all of these pieces. So that's that I'm frustrated advice there. There's anything you want to add, Georgie, or we can take questions, comments from people in the audience?
Yeah, let's take some questions and some comments. Let me see what we have in our chat right now. Everything you have said has happened to me as I have undertaken this journey of running my own business. I was so focused and stressed about figuring everything out immediately. How I want to work with people, who I want to work with, what I will sell, how I will sell. And now 10 months later, I'm so much more relaxed and allowing it to unfold as I keep taking steps forward. That's so, so, so common. I love that we get messages from people. I'm so sorry I have to leave. I'm so sorry. I'm going to be late. I can't watch your whole show. That's so awesome. It's so, so, so good. I think that kind of goes back to the, you know, we attract the kind of people who believe what we believe, with the kind of people that really, that sort of fit in. This becomes more than just a, hey, I'm just here watching what you're doing kind of thing. It starts to build a community. There's relationships that form with the people that watch our show and that participate. And that's what we're looking for. That's what's really important to us, is that that we have those kinds of relationships. It's really, really awesome. So we appreciate those messages. Thank you. Any other questions that you might have? Anything that we didn't cover? Something you might be curious about that we didn't go through? We've got a couple minutes. We did pretty good with our big slide deck today, actually.
Yeah, it's kind of it's interesting. We had a question on Friday, right, about how do we manage to fit the content into an hour, right? And it's just, and it's like, I don't know how we do this. But it's you know, it's partly experience, partly, well, I say it's a lot of that, you know.
Yeah.
Done a lot of talking in the last 20 years.
Yeah, I think it's definitely that experience piece comes into play, because you know when you can speed up, when you need to slow down, when you need to wrap up, how much time is left. Yeah, I think it's practice. It's that practice, it's that mastery, it's that experience, for sure. And I think often we think, oh, I'm just going to be able to do this right out of the gate, and it's not the way it works at all. I think we were talking about this as well on the weekend. I was thinking, like with my bookkeeping company, now someone can hand me a box of paper. I can tell you exactly how long it's going to take me to do what needs to be done. In the beginning, not a chance. I'm guessing, you know, I'm like, I'm not really sure. It's going to be this much an hour, and I'll think it's possibly going to be, but I'm not really sure. You know, it's experience. It's continuing to do the work. And just getting better and better and better. Thanks for answering my question about staying on track time-wise. I guess I need a lot more experience.
Here's a tip, right? It's going to take longer than you expect to go through the content. The big mistake we tend to make, we meaning me, is thinking, wow, an hour is a lot of time, especially if you're doing interaction with an audience and taking questions. We think an hour is a lot of time, and I have to put a lot of content in, and we end up having too much content. Going over is typically a problem. Meeting organizers who don't like it, people who came to give you an hour of their time don't like it. And finishing early is never a problem. In fact, event organizers often appreciate it because there's a little bit of time. You can always do a Q&A to fill in that time, and often people are just, you know, they're happy to get out of the event a few minutes early or something like that. It's like they don't complain. It's, oh, you're supposed to talk for an hour. You only talked for 50 minutes. It's like they don't complain. They're like, oh, great, I got 10 minutes to grab a coffee before I go to my next thing, right? So you'll figure this out really quickly once you start doing it. It takes a lot longer to go through things than you might expect. It's easier to talk for 2 hours than 5 to 7 minutes.
Way easier.
Way easier. Especially when you're talking about something that you know, right? Like when we're coming from this expert space, Georgie and I have now been talking for 63 hours solid. And we're like, oh, and this, and this, and this. And it's like, we're going to keep talking for hours and hours ahead of this time. It's like, I've been immersed in this stuff for 30 years. I got a lot to say. And that's true of most people who are accomplished in their field. And you know a lot more even than you think you do. Because once you start getting into the explain the obvious, that alone can be tons and tons and tons of content. So yeah.
Yeah, so true. And then you get questions, right? The questions are so great. I think I have so much to share. I worry someone won't get something really important, especially if I don't know if they will be back. I guess I need to just trust people will get what they want and need when they really need it. Exactly. And often we want to put in so much content that it overwhelms people, right? The challenge comes to simplifying things back to just, just enough content to really be able to help people understand. Because often, I know I fall into this trap a lot where I want to it's too much information. And then it's just like, what did you just say? I don't even know. So being able to strip things out and do little pieces at a time can be really, really helpful.
Yeah, that's a tip I learned from a fellow named Sean D'Souza, who, by the way, I got Explain the Obvious from as well, is inch wide, mile deep.
Yeah.
Just when you start looking at individual pieces of content, you realize, wow, it's like when we were looking at questions for today, it's like each one of these questions could easily be expanded into a full episode. The question of, what is a funnel opened up so many other questions that we knew we're going to dedicate a whole episode to that, which we are doing on Wednesday, by the way. If you have questions about technical terminology, about funnels and mailing lists and lead magnets and all of that stuff, it's going to be a non-technical presentation on the pieces of a funnel and what it means and how they fit together and what they are. So if you're feeling a little overwhelmed with that stuff, and by the way, funnels aren't always technical. So we're going to talk about that too. It's an expansion of this what is marketing kind of slide. So we're tackling that on Wednesday. That's, probably, you could probably do 10 shows on that. There's a lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff. Yeah. Speaking of upcoming things, do you want to share our announcements?
Sure, I can share our announcements very quickly. These are our announcements. Wednesday funnels, so we're excited about that. Funnels and marketing systems and all of that good stuff. Lots of boxes and arrows. Yeah.
Lots of boxes and arrows. I think it's a boxes and arrows kind of show.
Yeah. And of course, we're doing a weekly review on Friday. Yay! The online class, Friday, July 10th. Wrong time on the slide. Again, it does run 2 hours. And we'll be streaming it into the Cozy Office. If Facebook cooperates, so you can catch it there. You can sign up and get the reminder and the link. We've got our course coming up July 18th and 19th. We want to implement. If you're still feeling frustrated with your marketing, want to have a conversation with us and do that assessment, they're free. We don't bite. You can book it online on our website. And I don't have a slide for this, but I'm going to sneak it in anyhow. We are going to be doing a full day workshop on content marketing, which is about how to figure out what you're going to post when. So whether you're doing blog posts, social media, a podcast, a show like this, whatever, we're going to put together a content calendar and all of the stuff that goes in it and what to say and how to say it and all of that. And that's coming up in August. We'll get dates and details out soon.
Yeah, and that will be a hands-on walk away with stuff done. That's kind of the kind of workshops we like to put on, is where you actually walk away with stuff, having done stuff. So we're very, very excited about that.
So that brings us to the conclusion of today's presentation. Thank you for being here. Lovely to see you. Thanks for the interaction. Have a wonderful day, and a wonderful day today and a wonderful day tomorrow. And we'll see you back here on Wednesday. Same bad time.
Same bad channel.
All right.
Bye.
Bye now.